Yay, Tada, we are back with another video. Usha Duxby is coming to Madlanga Commission of Inquiry on the 18th of February 2026. That is Wednesday, which is tomorrow. He's going to be quizzed about those dockets that Mkwana spoke about that he took from KZN, and then he's going to be asked if he's part of the cartel that was mentioned. Remember the big five. Yeah. But my interest is more on the Sessions Moyo case. I'm hoping that someone will ask him about his involvement in the Moyo case, because we know that he was there at the crime scene on the day that Senzo was unalived. I'm going to play an audio where Sibiya answered some of those questions during the ad hoc committee in Parliament. And thereafter, you're going to hear my comments that I've made earlier on this year. It was about Sibiya's involvement in this case. But hopefully, someone at Madlang Commission will quiz him about this Senzo case, because it is of a national interest. Danko, watch on. Hey, Tada, we are back with another video. The page, it is called South African Late News. Shadrack Sibiya finally addresses the Senzo issue. He tells us what was his role in the entire Meyiwa crime scene, but he failed to answer the main pertinent question, which is, did you meet with Chico Twala? I know that in the past video I've shown you that he did meet with Chico Twala. So in this case here, he failed to address that. But let us watch what he said.
I've seen messages that says I took $1 million and I did this, I shifted the firearm order. No. At what point would I have done that? So I just wanted to say to South Africans, I am not involved in the Senzo Meyiwa case. I've never done anything wrong. And there have been many teams, more than 10 different teams that were set to investigate this thing. I have done nothing that can actually cause the matter to be, not to be successful.
When Senzo Meyiwa was killed, did you went to the scene?
I'm actually happy that I'm being asked on the issue of Senzo Meyiwa, and it's an issue that I wish I could spend time on it to clarify, so that finally South Africans can get to hear the truth. And allow me, Chair, to deal with this Senzo Meyiwa issue. When Senzo Meyiwa, after Senzo Meyiwa was killed, I was the head of the Hawks in Gauteng. I was at home in Pretoria. I got a call from the acting provincial commissioner, who was General Musikiri at that time. I was at home at night. I didn't even know about the shooting. And it was around about 11 at night. And remember, Senzo was killed after 7:30, around about 7:30, early evening. And what I had to do as the head of the Hawks was to call a team to say, let's meet there. It's just like when a serious crime has been committed, we move, we go there. And what happened there is that as we moved, all of us, we got there. I ran straight to hospital. And simply because of the fact Senzo Meyiwa is a national key point. It's a national asset. It's not ordinary member where someone can say someone has been gunned out, then as the head of the house, I'll also go there. But because it was a national goalkeeper, we all had to react, and we went. Even General Musikiri, who was the acting provincial commissioner, we all went and we met at the police station, at the hospital. When I got to the hospital, it was packed, even in the passage, even in the ward where he was lying motionless. And everybody was crying there. Even myself, I could not make my way through into the ward. I saw him lying inside there, but from outside the ward. And then I realized that it won't work. I then said to General Musikiri, I will go to the house where now the investigation must start, because now the investigation process had to start. Now, for the investigation process to start, we then had to go to the scene of crime. When we get to the house where it happened, It was packed. Outside the yard, inside the yard, there was up and down movement in the house. I'm well trained when it comes to investigations. I'm 37 years doing what I'm doing. The very first thing is to take charge of the scene of crime. Mine was to give instructions and say, please, secure the scene, preserve the scene. This is a scene of crime. Now the team had to make sure that they remove everybody on site to outside the yard so that it can be cordoned, the scene of crime can be cordoned. Remember, I arrived late at night when this thing happened almost after 7:30, and the scene was already processed by the officials. It was processed, cleaned. The experts have done their work. Now, when I arrived there, I also found MEC Sizakele Nkosi Malobane and other generals were there. Now, ours, we come here as a fact-finding team. We come in here, we knock, we sit down in the sitting room. It's clean, there's no blood, there's no spotty that you can see, everything is in place. And then we sit, we listen, we ask questions, what happened? This one explained, this one explained, this one explained, this one explained. This is the normal course of attending to crime scene. The MEC was there also, we were all listening. And then from there, General Musigiri and them arrived from hospital to join us. There were other generals, including General Musigiri. We all listened. And
get the money. So the legal aid has got no choice. They would fund them. But today I would like to speak about the role that was played by Shadrack Sibiya and Chico Twala in this case. We know for a fact that Shadrack Sibiya was at the crime scene after Senzo was shot. That is a fact, and because it is evidence before court, since it was confirmed by Sergeant Mosia, who testified under Judge Maumela as well as Judge Rasam Kwadling. As you all know, that on the day that Senzo was shot, it is evidence before court that he was driven to hospital and to be dumped there via his BMW. Then afterwards, several key officials, which included politicians as well as senior policemen, arrived at the crime scene and held a meeting at the Kumula House. That meeting was held before the arrival of Mosia and Chris Mangena. So the forensic people came after the scene was tampered with because they were moving up the house, they were touching things and doing all sort of nonsense before the arrival of Mosina. So it's clear that the crime scene was highly contaminated. So the evidence that was obtained by Mosia was therefore irrelevant because it was totally damaged. The people that were there in the house includes the likes of Shadrack Sibiya, who at the time was the head of the Hawks in Gauteng, as well as the Gauteng MEC of Safety. And her name, I think it was Sizakele Nkosi Malobane. In that meeting, we were told by Advocate Tefo that the theory of the intruder was approved, which means that was when they decided, no, we're going to protect certain individual so that someone does not go to prison. So they decided to say in the house there was an intruder. But you know for a fact that based on the statement by Mnumzi Hlope, Tumelo Madlala phoned Mnumzi Hlope and told him that Senzo Meyiwa was shot by Longo Twala while he was trying to separate a fight between Zandi and Longo. So Senzo was shot by mistake. But in that meeting that was held by Shadrack Sibiya and other politicians, it is alleged that the theory intruder was approved. So the truth was hidden from that moment on. But the first worrying thing about that meeting is that it was held before the arrival of Mosia and Mangena. So the forensic people came after the crime scene was tampered with because people there, they were walking up and down, touching exhibits, touching the doors and so on. So the crime scene was highly contaminated, and that is it's not a joke. it's a sad reality. The crime scene was highly contaminated because they were moving up and down. They held a meeting in an active crime scene, which is highly irregular in this country. We all know that. However, nothing was done to those people that were in the house. Nothing was done. So now, when Mosia was testifying before Judge Maumela, Advocate therefore put it to him and said, Ndlovu and Sibiya were not just there for a friendly visit. They were there to give you wrong information so that they can tamper with the crime scene. So therefore is accusing Ndlovu and Sibiya of giving Mosia a wrong information so that the truth can be hidden, so that Ngotshwala is protected. That is according to Advocate therefore. And then some years back, I think it was around 2018 or 2019, Shadrack Sibiya had an interview with Stephen Motale from the Sunday Independent. Remember that Sibiya was initially accused of taking a 1 million rand bribe from Chico Tshwala, but those claims were never proven. But in that interview with Stephen Motale, Sibiya had an opportunity to address those allegations. And in that interview, Sibiya denied the rumor that he took 1 million bribe from Chico Tshwala in exchange for protecting Lilongo Tshwala, who was going to be facing charges of shooting Senzo. So those were the allegations back then. It is alleged that Shadrack Sibiya received a bribe from Chico Tshwala so that he can protect Lilongo Tshwala. He said shortly after the shooting, he received a phone call from the Gauteng Provincial Deputy Commissioner, in which he informed that Senzo was shot. Sibiya then said, I immediately called my team, and we met at the hospital where Senzo was rushed to. When we arrived there at the hospital, there were so many people who were crying, including Bafana coach back then, which was Sheikh Mashab. Sibiya said the Hawks team then rushed to the crime scene where they found many people, including high-profile people such as Gauteng MEC of Safety, Sizakele Nkosi Malobane. Sibiya further says that at the scene, a decision was taken that the case would be handled by high-level task team. So he said his involvement in the case ended there on the day. But I do not believe Sibiya, because even after that, he continued to speak about the case. He said he was going to solve this case, but now he's saying his involvement ended on that night when Senzo was shot. So Sibiya is not being honest there, I'm telling you. And then, while Sibiya refuted the allegation that he had accepted a bribe from Chico Tshwala, he admitted that he met Chico Tshwala. So Sibiya uyavuma ukuthi he received a phone call from Chico Tshwala and he met him. Why would you meet Chico Tshwala in the first place? Because they were not friends, they are not relatives, they do not work in the same profession. What could be the meeting about? He said, yes, Chico did call me asking for a meeting. While he was on his way to my office, I decided to call a detective who was handling the case, as I was reluctant to meet Chico Tshwala alone. So uthi wesaba ukuthi ahlangane noChico yedwa, wacela omunye ukuthi eze naye ukuze azobufakazi wakhe la for whatever reason. And then Sibiya said at the meeting, Tshwala expressed his frustration with the manner in which the case was handled. He gave his own version of events and appealed to the detective to speed up the investigation. He even offered to assist the team with investigation. So Chico Tshwala, he offered to help with investigation. Why was he so interested in this case? Because the police were handling the matter. So yena ungena phi na ngakuthi azabiza umhlangano noSibiya. So clearly uChico Tshwala khona into that he was up to. Something here tells me that ukhona into uChico ayefuna ukuyibona or uyafuna ukuyenza, or uyafuna ukucontrola the way the investigation was going. For what reason, we all know. Remember that the statement of Mlungisi, as I've said earlier, he alleged that he was phoned by uTumela Madlala and wamtshela ukuthi uSenzo Meyiwa has been shot by Longotwala ngephutha. Lokho kuthiwa uSenzo was trying to separate the fight between uZandi and uLongwe. Then isibhamu saqhuma-ke lapho in between while there was that scuffle. So we know that that statement it mentions uLongotwala as being the shooter. So now we see uChikwathwala calling uSibiya for a meeting. So I'm sure you can connect the dots here. It's clear what was Chiko trying to do here. So we can clearly connect the dots. There's something fishy about that Chikwathwala and Shadrack Sibiya meeting. What they spoke about, yes, because clearly uSibiya has changed because it might be embarrassing to him. And now we know, based on uSibiya, he took some dockets and he kept them in Pretoria. Those dockets were allegedly linking people in that political killings. So it's possible that uSibiya was up to something in this case as well, but I'm not sure what it is. But the fact that uChikwathwala called a meeting with him, it shows that uSibiya and Chikwathwala has something fishy going on there. And I guess we'll never know, but we'll continue to speculate because they are not telling us the truth. So you must also remember that the first person that Kelly Khumalo phoned after Senzo was shot, it is Chikwathwala. It's not the police. It's not the ambulance. Kelly Khumalo phoned with Chikwathwala. That shows something. The common denominator here, Longotwala. If Longotwala was not guilty of anything, then Advocate Baloyi would have called him to court and testify so that he can give us his version of events, so that all this drama about him in this case can end. Then Longwe, if he goes there, he can also verify that video that was about 34 seconds where he was walking in the Khumalo household. You can verify that video or dispute that video. So uLongwe is a crucial person in this case. I think he is more important than Ukininda because he was in that house and he is accused of something. So if he comes to court, then he can bring us to confidence to show that he's innocent. We were told that when the intruder came into the house, Longotwala ran towards them, even though the intruders had a gun. So Longwe was not afraid of a gun. So he just pushed the intruder and ran away. And then we were told that the intruder never ran after Longotwala. The intruder never tried to shoot Longwe. So that story, to me, it's bizarre because inkabi kiyeke ugijime towards them. Inkabi iphethe isibhamu but ingakudubuli. Uphumela ngaphandle, inkabi ingakusukeli ukudubula. So we can see that there's something very, very fishy about this case. So that's why docket 375 is the only docket that will bring about justice for the Meyiwa family and the public at large. There was just too much high-level interference in this case. You can't tell me Chikwathwala had a meeting with Sibiya to speak about just the case. Something else went on that meeting of Sibiya and Chikwathwala. The meeting that was held at the Khumalo House was clearly about the cover-up for the connected people. And you know who I'm talking about. The poor guys that are before court are just pawns that are being used by Kininda and Vaseline. That's it. Advocate Baloyi was quick to dismiss docket 375 when it was brought to him by Warrant Officer Makubo. Baloyi, he knows that docket 375 has got evidence that links the people that were in the house, but still he ignored that. Docket 636 was never brought. Docket 636 was never about justice for the Meyiwa. It was just about convicting these guys at all costs, no matter what, just find them guilty. The police were under pressure at the time, so they said, okay, let's just charge anybody so that we can close this case and shut everyone up. But based on Absalom Mzungu's allegation, now we know that it's clear that Ukininda had ulterior motives when he visited Absalom Mzungu there in Newcastle. Absalom Mzungu has denied that he deposed any statement with Kininda. So if Absalom Mzungu is called to court, he can discredit Kininda and then destroy the state case totally, or in toto, the words that they like there in court, in toto. So you must remember that Kininda also mentioned statement Babu Zungu in court so many times, but he mentioned Babu Zungu as a statement. So based on Ulo Babu Zungu, Kininda came to him and offered him money in return. You go to Babu Zungu testify against accused number 1 and 2. He said, kwathiwa aka-implicate uNtazi noSibiya athi they were involved in the Mayor case. But Absalom Mzungu refused to do that. And then afterwards, he started getting threats and he was being harassed. And then Kininda allegedly phoned him and said, Absalom Mzungu, let's meet at the field, and he must come alone. What kind of a policeman would say that? Bahlangane endaweni nje ehamba yedwa on the field, ehamba yedwa. Surely Babu Zungu there felt that this is an intimidation. But I'm glad that Babu Zungu has finally spoke out, because his version of events will make sure that these guys are cleared. If Zungu comes to court and say, I never deposed any statement, it will prove that Kininda is not being honest with the court. Clearly, once Kininda has been exposed of lying about the Zungu statement, then the court will realize that he could have lied about much more. What else has he told the court that is not true? So it is vitally important that the defense get hold of Babu Zungu. I'm sure they can find him, because Isoten Sunday World, no Njabulo, they managed to track him down in Newcastle. So it can't be that hard. So if Section 174 discharge is not successful, then the defense will be forced to call the witnesses of their own. So Babu Zungu should be one of them, because he has told us what happened. If Kininda tried to get a false statement from Babu Zungu, I'm sure he tried that with other witnesses as well. We don't know how many witnesses he influenced. Babu Zungu said his son Usikhumbuzo Sizwe Zungu told him that he testified in court because Kininda or the police promised him a promotion within the SAPS if they testified against the accused. So Sizwe Zungu did just that, what testified in court and implicated all 5 guys. So now we know based on Absalom Mzungu, mfana wake testified because he was hoping he'll get a promotion. So it means the evidence Zungu is not honest, because he implicated all 5 guys for the sake of a promotion. What type of a policeman is that? But I'm very disappointed about the media. Till today, they have not tried to interview Absalom Mzungu. Only the Southern Sunday World, no, Nabonjabula bahamba bale Newcastle, but SAPC group, because this is a truly breaking news, because it shows that Kininda might have influenced other witnesses as well. but SABC uthule, ANC uthule, Newsroom Africa uthule. That story kaBaba uZungu was never seen on any other channel mainstream media. So it shows what laba mainstream media, they have taken a side. They decided to say, no, the intruder theory, it is the right case before court. But they are not questioning things that need to be questioned. They should have questioned the confession. Why was the confession ka Moses Sibiya was taken in the early hours of the morning? It was taken after midnight. In between. The media never questioned that. So we say we've got a free and fair media in this country. That is rubbish. They only address the matter if it is in their best interest or if it is positive for their favorites. But now the 5 men before court have a witness there in the form of Absalom Zungu, who was stating that Ukininda tried to influence him. And that should be a breaking story in every news outlet. But no. SABC instead, they are reporting about what? Msangano njela. And so on. But one day, these guys will prove that they're innocent. No matter how long it takes, I'm sure the police will be exposed to Uti. This case was fabricated from that day where the meeting was held in the Kumal household. That's when the fabrication began, because that's where the theory of an intruder was approved. On that day, in that meeting where there was politicians, Shadrack Sibiya, and others. According to Advocate Tefo, yilabo aqala khona izinto ukuthi zenzeke khona lapho. But ke asilinde ukuthi sibone kuzonzalani mhla ka-7 August. That is when the case will resume. We'll hear from the defense whether the legal aid is giving them money for the Section 174 discharge, but I'm hopeful